We're good. You did it. Zico the brave. Thanks for watching. A few people have asked me to do a video about my makeup routine, so I thought I'd do a little bit more of a fun video and have my sister do my makeup for this video. Little caveat, she is an artist, but she doesn't wear makeup at all, so she has no idea how to apply any of this. What could go wrong, right? Fortunately, she's a quick learner, so I gave her a tutorial before we started this video, and this is her giving my makeup routine a first try. Right off the bat, I'm going to acknowledge that my favorite part of filming this video with Dee is watching her try to autofocus all of the products within this video. It's a struggle that's going to happen all throughout the video, and it's quite hilarious to watch. Try to see if you can keep track of how many times you burst out laughing. So let's get into this makeup. The foundation that we're using is a mixture of Maybelline Fit Me and NYX Total Control. It's a pretty good coverage. I typically go for a full or medium coverage because I have acne scarring, so I'm typically trying to even out my skin tone. Usually if I'm using a beauty blender, I will try to make the beauty blender a little bit moist, so I'm just using this makeup setting spray. We forgot it at the beginning, but we're going back and going over it. With just one layer of this foundation, we find that it is quite buildable, and it gives you maybe about a medium level of coverage. You might notice that there is some orange undertone to my skin there. That's because I did a little bit of color correcting before we got on camera. Typically, I'll use the color correcting for the areas like the under eye or the darker upper lids or even the mustache region. So I try to make sure my skin is evened out as much as possible before we go to the next step. The next step is to add a little bit of concealer under the eye to add some brightness. So she's going to continue doing the blending. You can see that it's done a pretty even job of evening out the skin tone there. From here, we're going to move on to the concealer. Dee is holding the concealer palette upside down. Oh, she noticed. Good. So it's the NYX concealer palette, and I typically use the upper left-hand corner for concealing underneath my eye. I don't like to slather on a whole lot of product when I'm doing this, so I put just a little bit underneath my eye. I don't even really set it with that bright under eye powder. I typically just put it on and blend it in just when I'm going for the everyday makeup look, which is what we're going for here. So that wasn't enough, so we're going to put a little bit more. Whoa, doesn't it look like I'm going through an exorcism or something? Anyway, so putting a little bit more there just makes it look a little bit brighter. And then from there, we're going to set the whole face with this black Opal setting powder. I really, really like this powder, and we are going to just use it on the face. This powder is a drugstore powder, so it's very affordable. I have one shade that I use for the summer and one that I use for the fall. The brush that I'm using is from e.l.f. It's a powder brush, so it has a flat surface to it, and I'm able to use it to buff in the powder into my skin there. I usually start with my cheeks, start lightly, and then I move on to the rest of the skin. I use it all the way around, and this buffing motion makes it so that I can even out my skin tone. As you can see with the color of this powder is more of a neutral powder, like I mentioned. So it's really good for the fall when my skin has lost some of that chocolatiness that I usually have in the summer. So it just kind of evens it out. So I have this powder, and then I follow that up with the MAC powder. The MAC powder is another really good finishing touch for the makeup, and I also buff it in more of a circular motion there to even out my face. And so now with all these three products together, the coverage is pretty good. I put it on my nose, I even put it on my eyelids there, on my forehead, just to make sure that my skin has a pretty even surface to work off of. And then from there, I'm going to move on to my eyebrows. For my eyebrows, I use this little spoolie here. This spoolie is for combing my eyebrows. I have curly eyebrows, so they tend to behave however they'd like. And I also use that eyebrow kit there. So I comb my eyebrows up and out. I actually like the shape of my eyebrows naturally, so I don't mess with them too much. I really don't believe in recreating my eyebrow from scratch when I already have something going on there. Most of the help that I need is towards the tail end of my eyebrows, where my eyebrows just said, nah girl, we gonna do whatever we want to do. So Dee's going in with this crayon there, and she's filling in my brow. Notice she's not really extending it past what is actually there. She's just tracing it and filling it in a little bit more. My hair is naturally a dark, almost black color, so the eyebrow pencil is pretty similar. So she put a little bit more color there in the back, and now she's going to go into that eyebrow palette and take that darkest color and fill in the front with this powder. And you'll notice right away when you start putting in the powder, your eyebrow looks immediately fuller. So she's brushing it in. I'd say it looks pretty natural there, but it adds a little bit more oomph to the eyebrow. Dee's a little bit conservative here on my eyebrows. Whenever I do my eyebrows, I add a little bit more thickness to it, but the combination of the pencil and the powder, I think, makes it look like a pretty natural eyebrow. And then we use the spoolie to brush it in so you still maintain the texture of a real eyebrow. Now we're going to go into the NYX concealer. We're going to use the second light color there. Dee is going to give me an under eyebrow highlight. She's going to just trace the outline underneath my brow on both sides. And that's just to give me a little bit of an arch and make the arch really stick out. When it comes to blending, I am just going to try to blend it all the way down. I don't want to have that really harsh line there, but you want to be able to make it stick out and pop a little bit. Dee is asking me how to get rid of the highlight, and I'm telling her to use her ring finger. So that's what she's doing to blend it all the way down. Just going to keep blending there. Blending and blending. Blend, 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 blend. If it's not super blended out, that's okay. At some point, eyeshadow will fix that. I'm not a huge eyeshadow fan. In fact, this is the eyeshadow color that I use. My other sister, Nay, makes fun of me because she says it looks just like my eye. Like, why do I even put on that color? It doesn't do anything. But that is my eyeshadow of choice. So that's the eyeshadow I'm going to put on. You notice it just makes it a little bit shinier, gives me a good base. I'm usually wearing a bright lipstick color, like a bright red, so I don't like my eyes to be doing the most. I will just usually have a neutral looking eyeshadow color along with a good wing tip, and that's it for the eyes. Dee's admiring her work there. From there, we're going to go to the blush section. As you can see, my face is a little bit one-dimensional, so the blush is really necessary. Cannot leave home without it. This is the color I'm using. Okay, focus. There we go. The color I'm using with this blush brush. I think it's an Eco Tools brush. And then Dee is applying the blush a little bit lower than the apples of my cheeks, and it gives it a look that's kind of a good complement to a contour. So we have what we call Como cheeks, those very round apple-like cheeks, and they don't need a whole lot of help from blush or bronzer, but we like to highlight them when we can. So this is a bronzer from LA Colors from the Beauty Supply or something like that. For whatever reason, this bronzer was not trying to focus. This bronzer is going to be put a little bit higher on the actual apples of my, it's okay. I do that myself. I go a little bit too heavy on the bronzer there. I get a little bit too much highlight going on, but it's pretty blendable. So I'm just going to blend those together. Because the blush is lower and the bronzer is higher, they meet in the middle and it ends up not being too much. Now I'm going to use this Ruby Kisses mineral powder in a deeper color as my Dee is having a hard time opening the container. Here we go. To add a little dimension, we're going to use this contour. Oh, yikes. It's okay, we're going to blend it out. That contour helps balance out the blush there, Because of my natural cheekbones, there's a lot of depth happening there anyway. I just have to be sure that we end up blending it out a little bit. So we use that same blush brush to blend out the contour and the blush. Once again, Dee doesn't wear blush, but I think it's going to end up looking all right at the end. We use this bronzer to highlight the eyes once again. Like I mentioned, it's just giving me a little bit of shine. Same eye color. Do I look pretty? Dee's coming back to fix the artwork. The artist in her is wanting to be a perfectionist and fix the eye. She's coming back, adding a little bit more brown to even out the gold that she just added. Now this is the part that makes Dee extremely nervous because I usually do a winged eye tip and I do two different styles. I use this eyeliner pen for a classic wing tip that's facing upwards, or I do what I call like an anime eye, which is more like a downward facing wing tip. So I'd practice this with Dee and we had a little bit of confusion with the instructions there, and I think she's attempting the anime eye and it kind of looks like a teardrop that one gets in prison. But I couldn't really see or give instructions. She's doing a pretty good job on the middle of the eye, but I could tell she was not very confident in her wingtip skills there. You could see she was going up and then decided to go down. It's bad. That's a motion I'm not familiar with, whatever you just did. I will admit that doing eye makeup is not the easiest thing to do. So she's coming back and trying to fix that. We just decided that I would do my own mascara so that my eye doesn't get poked out. And yeah, it's just better that way. So I did my mascara. Other than the wingtip mishap, I think it looks pretty similar to how I would do my own makeup there. So now we're going to go to one of my favorite little cheeky tricks there. This is an eye light crayon. It's a highlighter crayon and I use it at the end of my nose, the tip of my nose, and also the upper bridge of my nose. And it makes, rather than contouring my nose, it just makes it stick out a little bit more, like, it makes me look a little elfish, I feel like. And we put a little bit of it in my Cupid's bow and then we blend it out. Really is a light touch that you don't, oh, okay. I like it. It's one of my favorite touches on my makeup. Something really subtle, but it can really set the whole look up. And then this is that nude lipstick that I always get questions about. My favorite comment is, what lippy is that? It's a Nicka K lipstick. I'll put the link to it in the description box. But this is my go-to everyday nude lip because it's a darker color, which is very similar to my upper lip color. And I will usually use this first, either by itself or along with the gloss. Today I'm going to use it with the gloss. And Dee is just applying this lipstick all around. One thing about Dee, although she doesn't wear a lot of makeup, she is really into nude lipsticks. So she has a large nude lipstick collection, larger than me even. I'm mostly a nude lip and red lip kind of girl, but she has way more nude lipstick than I do. So from here, we've put on the lipstick. We're going to put on the gloss. This brand has the ability to magically be the nude of every woman of color that I've met. This is NYX Butter Gloss. And this stuff goes on like butter, like the name suggests. And it's actually has a good taste to it. Not that you're supposed to be eating the lip gloss, but you know, you notice it. And this, accompanied with the lipstick, has this nice glossy look to it, but at the same time it has enough color that your lips look uniform from top to bottom. I really am a big fan. My younger sister Nay introduced me and Dee to this lip gloss, and it is one of my favorites for my face. The last step is to set all of the makeup with some DIY rose water, spray a few spritz on my face, and then we're done. And that is my artist sister doing my makeup. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. Yay!